Have you ever prayed for God to fix you and felt like He never listened? Emily Dawson sat in the back row of her Psychology 301 lecture, staring at a blank notebook page that should have been filled with notes. Around her, pens scratched against paper. Laptops clicked. Knowledge flowed from professor to student like a river finding its natural course. But Emily's mind was a fireworks show, beautiful, intense, gone before she could grasp a single spark. Professor Martinez was explaining Maslow's hierarchy when Emily noticed the girl in front had a coffee stain shaped like a butterfly. That reminded her she needed to call her mom, which reminded her she hadn't returned her library books, which reminded her, "Miss Dawson?" The classroom fell silent. Could you summarize what we just covered? 23 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Emily's throat tightened. Her mind, so full of thoughts moments ago, was suddenly devastatingly empty. Sorry, Professor Martinez's expression wasn't cruel. It was worse. It was pity. See me after class. That night, Emily sat on her dorm room floor, surrounded by textbooks she'd opened but never read, assignments she'd started but never finished, and sticky notes she'd written but never followed. Yellow squares covered her walls like fallen leaves. Trust God's timing. You can do this. Be still and know. God has a plan. She'd written them all in moments of desperate faith, hoping the words would transform her scattered mind into something normal, something that worked the way everyone else's seemed to. Emily pulled out her phone and scrolled through her prayer journal app. Day 247. God, please help me focus. I know you made me, but sometimes I feel like you made a mistake with my brain. Day 298. Please, just make me normal. I don't want to be special or different. I want to finish things. Day 341. I'm losing faith that you can fix this. Am I praying wrong? Tears fell on the screen. At 21 years old, Emily was 2 semesters away from failing out of the university. Her dream of becoming a therapist, of helping people the way she wished someone could help her, felt like sand slipping through fingers she couldn't quite close. Her roommate, Jessica, returned from the library with her usual organized perfection. Color-coded notes, completed assignments, life under control. Em, you okay? Emily wiped her face quickly. Yeah, just another day in my brain. Jessica meant well when she said, Have you tried making a schedule? It really helps me stay on track. A schedule? As if Emily hadn't tried 17 different planners, 8 productivity apps, and every organization system from bullet journaling to time blocking. None of them worked for a mind that couldn't hold still long enough to follow them. Yeah, Emily said quietly. I've tried. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. Subject: Academic Probation Notice. Emily's hands shook as she read it. 2 failing classes. 1 semester to improve or face dismissal from the program. She'd known it was coming, but seeing it in writing, official, final, irreversible, felt like a door slamming in her face. All those nights she'd stayed up, genuinely trying. All those mornings she'd prayed for focus, for discipline, for God to please, 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 just fix whatever was broken in her brain. Wasted. She walked to the campus chapel, the only place that ever felt safe. Sat in the last pew. And for the first time in her life, Emily didn't pray. She just cried. I can't keep doing this, she whispered to the empty room. I can't keep trying so hard and failing anyway. I can't keep believing you're going to change me when you clearly won't. The words felt like betrayal, but they also felt like truth. That afternoon, Emily's academic advisor, Mrs. Chen, called her in. Emily, I'm going to be direct with you. Based on your transcripts, your test scores, and your essays, you're one of the brightest students in this program." Emily laughed bitterly. "That's not what my grades say." "No, but grades don't measure intelligence. They measure your ability to navigate a system that wasn't built for the way your brain works." Something in Emily's chest cracked open. "I see students like you every semester," Mrs. Chen continued. "Brilliant minds that just work differently. And I'm going to say something that might surprise you. You don't need to change who you are. You need tools that match how you function." "I've tried everything." "Not everything." Mrs. Chen pulled up a contact on her computer. "Dr. Marcus Harris. He's a therapist who specializes in neurodivergent students. He's helped dozens of people who thought they were broken discover they were just using the wrong instruction manual for their brain." Emily stared at the name on the screen. Part of her wanted to run. Another therapist would mean another person seeing how deeply flawed she was. But a smaller, quieter part whispered, "What if?" "Will you make the call?" Mrs. Chen asked gently. Emily closed her eyes, took a breath. "Yes." Dr. Marcus Harris's office didn't look like a clinic. It looked like someone's favorite reading room. Overstuffed chairs, warm lighting, and walls lined with books that had clearly been read, not just displayed. Emily sat with her hands clasped tight, prepared for judgment. Instead, Dr. Harris, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and an unhurried presence, simply asked, "What brings you here?" "I can't focus," Emily said. "I try, I really do, but my mind it won't stay still. Everyone else makes it look so easy. And I feel like I'm running a race underwater." "How long have you felt this way?" "Always. Since I was a kid. My teachers said I was lazy. My parents said I needed to pray harder. My friends say I need better systems." Her voice cracked. "And I've tried. God, I've tried so hard. I pray every day for him to fix me. But nothing changes." Dr. Harris leaned forward slightly. "What if nothing needs fixing?" Emily looked up, confused. "What if," he continued, "your brain isn't broken? What if it's just different? And what if, instead of fighting against how it works, we learn to work with it?" "But I've tried everything." "You've tried everything designed for neurotypical brains. Schedules, long study sessions, sustained focus for hours." He smiled. "Tell me, Emily, how long can you actually focus before your mind starts to wander?" She thought about it. "Maybe 10 minutes? 15 on a really good day?" "Perfect. Then let's start there." Emily frowned. "But that's not enough time to do everything at once?" "No, but it's enough time to do something. And something, done consistently, becomes everything." The next session, Dr. Harris did something Emily never expected. He opened his desk drawer and pulled out a small, old-fashioned kitchen timer. The kind with a red dial and a mechanical tick. "This," he said, setting it on the table between them, "is going to change your life." Emily stared at it. "A timer? Not just any timer. Your tool, your bridge between the mind you have and the life you want." He wound it to 25 minutes and set it down. "Here's how it works. You study, or pray, or rest, or do whatever you need to do for exactly 25 minutes. Not 26, not 30, 25. When the alarm rings, you stop. Completely. Even if you're in the middle of a sentence." But that seems counterproductive. Does it? Or does trying to force yourself to focus for 2 hours straight, only to accomplish 10 minutes of actual work, seem counterproductive? Emily had no answer for that. "The problem isn't your focus," Dr. Harris explained. "It's your expectation. You're trying to run a marathon when your brain is built for sprints. There's nothing wrong with being a sprinter, Emily. You just need to stop trying to be a distance runner. He pushed the timer toward her. Take it home. Use it tomorrow. Study for 25 minutes. Nothing more, nothing less. When the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break. Then, if you want, do another round. That's it? That's it. No complex system. No 12-step program. Just you, this timer, and the commitment to honor how your brain actually works instead of how you wish it worked. Emily picked up the timer. It was surprisingly heavy for something so small. What if I fail? Then you reset the timer and try again. Failure isn't falling down, Emily. It's staying down. That night, Emily placed the timer on her desk. It sat there like a challenge, or maybe a promise. She opened her psychology textbook, the one she'd been avoiding for weeks, and stared at chapter 12. 30 pages of dense academic writing about cognitive behavioral therapy. I'll never get through this. But then she remembered Dr. Harris's words. You don't have to get through it. You just have to start. Emily closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, different from her usual ones. God, I don't know if this will work, but help me try. Just help me try. She wound the timer. 25 minutes. Click. The ticking began, and so did Emily. Week 1. The resistance. The first 3 days were torture. 25 minutes felt like an eternity when every minute was a battle against her own brain. This is stupid. You're wasting time. You could be… Tick, tick, tick. The timer's sound became almost mocking. A metronome counting down her inadequacy. On day 4, Emily almost threw it across the room. But something stopped her. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the faintest whisper of hope that this tiny, ridiculous tool might actually be the answer to prayers she'd stopped believing would be heard. She wound it again, and again, and again. Week 2. The shift. Something changed on day 11. Emily sat down with her textbook, wound the timer, and began reading about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, to literally rewire itself through practice and repetition. The irony wasn't lost on her. I'm rewiring my brain. 25 minutes at a time. And then, for the first time since she could remember, something miraculous happened. The timer rang, and Emily was surprised. She'd been so absorbed in the material that 25 minutes had felt like 5. She sat there, stunned, staring at the silent timer. I did it, she whispered. I actually did it. Week 3. The ritual. By week 3, the timer had become more than a tool. It had become a ritual, a sacred space. Every morning, before her first study session, Emily would hold the timer in both hands and pray, Lord, let these 25 minutes be enough. It wasn't a prayer for more time. It wasn't a prayer to be different. It was a prayer for sufficiency, for this moment, this mind, this method to be exactly what she needed. And day by day, session by session, something extraordinary happened. The chapters got read, the notes got taken, the papers got written. Not in one exhausting marathon, but in dozens of small, achievable sprints. Her roommate, Jessica, noticed first. Em, are you okay? You've been studying all week without freaking out. Emily looked at the timer sitting on her desk, scratched now, worn from constant use. I think, she said slowly, I'm actually learning how to work with my brain instead of against it. Week 5. The crisis. Then came the breaking point. Emily's final project for developmental psychology was due in 48 hours, a 20-page paper analyzing attachment theory through case studies. She'd spent 3 weeks working on it, 25 minutes at a time, building it piece by piece. It was good. Maybe the best work she'd ever done. And then, at 11:47 p.m., her laptop froze, crashed. When it restarted, the document was gone, corrupted, unrecoverable. Emily sat in the dark of her dorm room, staring at the error message on her screen, and felt the old panic rising like a tide. You're going to fail. You always fail. This is why you'll never make it. This is proof that you're... Her hand found the timer. Habit now. Instinct. She wound it through her tears. 25 minutes. Just 25 minutes. I can't rewrite 20 pages in 25 minutes. But she didn't need to rewrite 20 pages. She just needed to write something. One paragraph, one section, one thought at a time. Tick, tick, tick. Emily opened a new document and began again. The all-night vigil. She wrote through the night in 25-minute intervals. Write, rest, pray, repeat. Around 3 a.m., something shifted. The paper wasn't just getting rewritten, it was getting better, clearer, more focused. Because Emily wasn't trying to remember what she'd written before. She was writing what she understood now. Each timer session became a prayer in itself, a conversation between her scattered mind and the God she'd spent years begging to make her different. What if he never wanted to change me? What if he just wanted me to learn this? That my brain isn't broken, it's just mine? At 7:15 a.m., Emily typed the final sentence. The timer sat silent beside her laptop, its red dial resting at 0. She'd done it. Not despite her ADHD. Not by overcoming her brokenness. But by finally accepting the brain she had and giving it the structure it needed to thrive. Emily submitted the paper with 3 hours to spare. She expected relief, maybe exhaustion. Instead, she felt something she'd never experienced before. Peace. Not the peace of being finished. The peace of knowing she could finish. 2 weeks later, Professor Martinez called her to his office. Emily's stomach dropped. The paper was terrible. He knows I rewrote it the night before. I'm going to... Emily, sit down. She sat. Professor Martinez held up her paper, covered in his handwriting. Her heart sank. This, he said, is the best work you've submitted all semester, by a significant margin. Emily blinked. What? Your analysis is thorough, your arguments are compelling, and your writing is clear and confident. This is A-level work. He paused. What changed? Emily thought about lying, about saying she'd finally gotten organized or tried harder. But the truth spilled out instead. I stopped trying to be someone I'm not. Professor Martinez waited. I have ADHD, Emily continued, and I've spent my whole life thinking that meant I was broken, that I needed to be fixed. But a few weeks ago, someone gave me a timer and told me to stop fighting my brain and start working with it. She pulled the timer from her backpack. She carried it everywhere now. This looks like a kitchen timer. But to me, it's, I don't know, a reminder that I don't need hours of focus to do good work. I just need 25 minutes at a time. And I can do 25 minutes. Professor Martinez studied the timer, then looked at Emily with something new in his eyes. Not pity, respect. You know what separates good therapists from great ones? He asked. It's not having all the answers. It's knowing what it feels like to struggle and finding a way through anyway. He handed back her paper with a smile. Keep the timer, Emily, and keep writing. That afternoon, Emily sat in Dr. Harris's office for what would be their last regular session. I need to tell you something, she said. I'm listening. For years, I prayed for God to fix my brain, to make me normal, to give me the focus everyone else seemed to have. Her voice thickened. and he never did. And I was so angry about that. Dr. Harris nodded. But now I understand. He wasn't ignoring my prayers. He was just answering them differently. Emily held up the timer. This timer didn't fix me. It didn't cure my ADHD or magically give me neurotypical focus. But it taught me something better. What's that? That I was never broken. I just needed to learn my own rhythm. And maybe God was waiting for me to stop asking to be someone else and start learning to be fully, completely myself. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were different tears now. Not tears of shame, tears of homecoming. I think, Emily said softly, that this timer is one of the most spiritual things I've ever owned, because every time I use it, I'm accepting the brain God gave me. I'm saying, this is enough. 25 minutes is enough. This focus is enough. This me is enough. Dr. Harris smiled. You know what you just described? What? The foundation of every authentic spiritual practice. Radical acceptance of what is. 6 months later, Emily walked across the graduation stage with a 3.4 GPA. Not perfect, but hers. Earned 25 minutes at a time. Her parents cried, her friends cheered, and in her pocket, wrapped in tissue paper like a treasure, sat the timer. Scratched, worn, marked by hundreds of sessions, thousands of minutes, and one complete transformation. The first session. 3 months into her internship at a community counseling center, Emily met Sophia, 16 years old, bright eyes, shaking hands. My teachers say I'm not trying hard enough, Sophia whispered. My parents think I'm lazy, but I swear, I am trying. I just can't make my brain work like everyone else's. Emily knew that look. She'd worn it for 21 years. After the session ended, Emily opened her desk drawer. Inside sat 3 kitchen timers, identical to the one Dr. Harris had given her. She'd bought them 6 months ago, knowing this moment would come. Sophia, Emily said gently, I want to give you something. She placed one of the timers in the girl's hands. Sophia looked confused. A timer? The most important tool you'll ever own. It taught me that I'm not broken, that my brain isn't wrong, it's just different. And different doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs the right support. Emily wound the timer to 25 minutes. This is your challenge. Every day this week, use this for just 1 session. Study, pray, rest, whatever you need, but only for 25 minutes. When it rings, stop, even if you want to keep going. But what if you fail? Emily smiled. Then you wind it again and try again. That's the whole point. You can't fail something you can do for 25 minutes. Sophia stared at the timer like Emily had handed her a treasure map. Did someone give this to you? Someone gave me the first one. Now I'm giving you yours. Present day. Emily sits at her desk in her small therapy office. The one she worked so hard to earn. The one she built 25 minutes at a time. On her wall hang several frames. Her degree, her license, and a photo of her old timer, retired now after years of faithful service. She keeps it on her bookshelf still, beside her Bible and her journal. A reminder that God doesn't always answer prayers the way we ask. Sometimes He answers by teaching us that we never needed to change at all. We just needed to learn to work with who we already were. Her phone buzzes. A text from Sophia, now in college. Used the timer for my final paper. Got an A. Thank you for teaching me that 25 minutes is enough. Emily smiles and types back. You taught yourself. The timer just showed you what was already there. She sets down her phone and winds the new timer on her desk, a gift from her first supervising therapist when she completed her licensing hours. 25 minutes until her next client. 25 minutes to review notes, prepare, and ground herself. Just enough. She bows her head briefly. Thank you for not fixing me. Thank you for teaching me that different is not broken. That scattered can become structured. That chaos can find rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. And in that sound, Emily hears what she'd been deaf to for so many years. Not the counting down of inadequacy, but the counting up toward everything she was always meant to become. One timer, 25 minutes, 1,000 small faiths, and one complete, miraculous, beautifully ordinary transformation. God doesn't always change us the way we ask. Sometimes, His answer is teaching us that we were never broken. We just needed to learn our own sacred rhythm. This story reminds us that sometimes the prayers we think go unanswered are actually being answered in ways we can't yet understand. Emily spent years begging God to change her brain, when what He was really teaching her was this: you were never broken. You just needed to learn your own sacred rhythm. What part of yourself have you been treating as broken that might just be different? If this story touched something deep in you, write the word "enough" in the comments. Let me know you stayed until the end, and this message found you. Share what city you're watching from. Your story might inspire someone on their journey. Subscribe and hit the bell, because every week I share stories that can transform how you see yourself and your struggles. Click the card on screen for another powerful story of transformation. And remember, 25 minutes at a time, you can become everything you were meant to be.